What's up, everybody? This is Blake, and today I'm going to give you all a tour of my intermediate Nepenthes grow tent. This is where I keep the majority of my Nepenthes, as well as some Pinguicula, Drosera, and a few other miscellaneous things on that top shelf there. So we'll go over construction, equipment, lights, misting, humidity, temperature, all those kinds of things. So as far as construction goes, this is actually constructed out of a PVC pipe frame, and I have for the walls just simply used shower curtains. So these are tall stall-size shower curtains that are just affixed to the frame here using these nice little PVC clamps. So the whole thing, it's actually not completely airtight. You can see some airs. It's allowed to respire a little bit as the temperature changes in the room, which was by design. I didn't want anything that was going to be too airtight, so I didn't have to worry about air intake, ventilation, and all that kind of stuff. So the tent naturally breathes on its own. And then on the bottom here, I have the whole thing sitting on top of an extra large dog crate pan. So this is the kind of thing that they have on the inside of dog kennels and crates, so that when there's an accident, it doesn't ruin your floors, and kind of serves the same purpose here for my plants. Given that there's a lot of water and stuff on the inside, I didn't want any of that wrecking the floors here. So nice heavy duty liner for the bottom. As far as temperature goes, this actually just receives the ambient temperature in the room. I mentioned that the tent itself is allowed to breathe, so when the temperature in the room changes, the temperature in the tent will also change. I have a window over here that I keep cracked throughout the year to allow cold air to come in at night, and provides a nice 15 to 20 degree temperature drop. In the summer, I'll actually put a window AC unit in there to help lower the temperature, since obviously in the summer it's much warmer here. So let's go into the tent and see what we've got. So again, the tent isn't completely sealed off. I just have it kind of loosely fitted here. You'll see that's my desk. This is actually in my office space here. So down here, this is actually the humidifier that I have. This humidifier I got off Amazon, and it's actually just this top piece here has a little tube that goes down into this water reservoir, and it just uses that for its humidity reservoir. It's fully programmable, all that fun stuff. This is probably one of the best humidifiers that I've ever purchased. It's very reliable, and the other humidifiers that you find on the market that are this size, several gallons plus, usually have issues with the humidifier reservoir leaking. And given the construction, the way that this whole thing is designed, and the fact that you can use basically anything as a water reservoir, makes it super versatile. I could have this thing sitting on top of a 55-gallon drum if I wanted to, and I'd probably never have to fill this thing up, or fill it up very sparingly. But as it is right now, I've got it on this 5-gallon bucket, and I fill it up maybe every couple of weeks here. But it's got the humidity in the tent set around 70%. And you'll also see down here, this is my MistKing pump. It is also hooked up to the reservoir here. So this bucket serves dual purpose as a humidifier reservoir. See, humidifier is going off right now. And a water reservoir for the misting system, which I already mentioned. I use a MistKing. I have a nozzle set up on each shelf in this grow rack, and it's set to turn on for 10 seconds every other hour throughout the day while the lights are on. So I don't have the misting going during the night, but it is going off during the day, just for 10 seconds to give the plants a little humidity boost, and also to encourage stuff like this live sphagnum growing, which just grows freely in a lot of these pots. So I'm gonna stand up here for a second and go up to one of these shelves where I have my fans. So these are AC Infinity USB computer fans. What's nice about these is they can actually daisy chain together. And then I have two of them on each shelf set at a pretty low speed just to circulate air throughout the tent. So this is nice to make sure that the temperature and humidity is pretty evenly dispersed throughout the tent. And actually have this one right here, right above the humidifier set, so that when that humidifier goes off, it can actually disperse the humidified air throughout the tent more efficiently. As far as lights go, I kind of have a mishmash of different things going on. So on my bottom shelf here, I have the Florawave P80 light from Carnivorous. This is a light specifically designed to grow Nepenthes, and it is doing amazing for my larger plants down here on the bottom shelf. Up above that, I have basically just four LED tubes. These are the 4-foot Barrina tubes that you can get on Amazon. They're super cheap. I actually just swapped these out the other day. I used to have Yescom panels up here on this shelf, but you can see from the redness of the plants on some of them, especially the younger ones, they were just getting too hammered by the intensity of the Yescom panel. So I swapped in the Yescoms for these Barrina tubes, given that they're much less intense. And I was actually able to raise this shelf a bit more because I was running into some height issues, especially with some of these taller plants, and didn't want them to bump up against the light too much on the bottom shelf. So it's kind of win-win there. Less intense light for these smaller guys and also a little bit of extra space on the bottom. And then last up top here, I have some Yescom panels. These are the Yescom 225s, white LED panels, and I have these on all of my more light hungry plants up here, and they just love it. Absolutely love it. This rack is a 4-foot rack, 4 feet wide, and I just have 3 of the shelves in here. Eventually what I'd like to do is to move all these pings and other things off of this rack onto their own dedicated shelving unit to give me a bit more room for more Nepenthes, especially once these ones on the bottom here start to vine and mature. Let's see, one other thing. So this is a Sensorpush temperature and humidity sensor. I have the Sensorpush app, which allows me to monitor temperature and humidity settings in the tent 24/7. That works really, really well. And on the back, you can also see the back of the tent here. I have basically just some reflective material for the back wall to help bounce off some of the light coming off of the lights. Now that kind of brings me back to the original construction of this. Why did I go with clear plastic rather than using all reflective material or just use a simple grow tent? Well, I was having trouble finding a tent that would both fit this 4-foot wide rack and also fit the space in my room here. And I also didn't love the way that a large grow tent with usually black walls looked in this room, given that I also use it as my office. It was just a huge black cube that took up the majority of the room, and I just didn't love the way it looked, and I like to be able to see my plants. So that's why I went with the clear shower curtain liners. You wouldn't have to do clear, you could do whatever you wanted. You could even do something crazy if you wanted. But yeah, this allows me to just kind of visually see my plants without having to go into my tent every single time that I want to just kind of take a quick peek at things. Last but not least, you may be wondering, what is the tray situation here that I have going on? So on each of the Nepenthes shelves, I have these 4-foot wide trays that I got from greenhouse megastore. And what these trays are a passive watering system for my Nepenthes. So the top of the tray has this felt material, and essentially the tray itself is filled up with water, and this felt is sitting in the water on the bottom on top of this platform. So the plants themselves are not sitting in water, but the felt is. And through capillary action, with these plants substrate exposed and touching the felt is able to wick water up into the substrate and keep the plants evenly moist, which is right about where most Nepenthes want to be. And that's also why I'm using these felt fabric grow bags on some of these plants. Been kind of experimenting a little bit with different pot types to figure out which types of pots are going to most efficiently wick water and give you enough surface area contact so that you can wick water up easily from this felt mat. And I have these on both shelves. Just a slightly different felt fabric material down here on this bottom one. Just playing with two different felt types to see if there's a difference between them in terms of their wicking capacity. This one down here, it can be a little more difficult to hydrate once it's been dried out. I've had issues rehydrating it where I've had to take the whole mat out and soak it in a tub of water to get it fully rehydrated and then put it back in here. Whereas this felt here doesn't seem to have that same issue. It's a slightly thicker felt, different overall material, but still felt nonetheless, and it doesn't seem to have that same issue. Now, this has allowed me to not really have to stress too much about worrying my plants. I probably, since these trays are so big, they easily hold 5 gallons of water each. And so I only fill each of these reservoirs up maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. So for those 2 to 3 weeks time, I don't have to worry about watering my plants at all. There's a couple plants that are still in older pots that don't wick water as well. I have this slotted orchid pot that doesn't have too much substrate to water mat contact, so it doesn't wick as efficiently, and I sometimes have to hand water some of those individual pots. But by and large, the fabric pots and the net pots seem to work really well using this setup. So it's been really nice using this self-watering method. I'm not too aware of anybody else who's doing a self-watering tray method for Nepenthes on this scale. I used to do individual self-watering pots, but it got to be too much to keep up with individual water reservoirs for each of my Nepenthes. And yeah, I figured that there had to be a better solution here. So like we use tray watering methods for other carnivorous plants, I've been calling this the tray watering method for Nepenthes. So been having really good results with it so far. So I think that this might be something that catches on with other growers who are lazy like me and don't like to water their plants every other day. So that is the tent itself. I'll probably make another video here going through the plants within, but wanted to just make a quick video on the setup, the construction, all the different equipment and methodologies and techniques that I've been using to grow these Nepenthes. So we'll see you in the next one.